Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Thanks for joining the conversation.
I was so eager to talk to you.
Oh, I'm so eager to talk to you.
All right, let's do it.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, and speaking of eager to talk to you, my listeners know I am like obsessed with the
Uh-huh.
Olympics, like obsessed. And right now, women's gymnastics is going on, and I
I
was like,
know you're
but
like scheduling me
I,
opposite
I would rather
Simone
talk to
on the
Greg.
floor.
I know. I actually didn't notice till after I had scheduled it, and then I was like, well,
We
shoot,
can do
okay.
this another day if you want
No,
to
no,
catch
no.
it. I
It's
mean, I'm
okay.
serious. I've got I've got a heart out in like an hour anyway, so
No,
it's
no,
not
it's
like
fine. It's fine
okay.
because now I'll just not talk to anybody till like 8 o'clock tonight and I'll watch it. Actually, so I upgraded and I paid the $10 for the NBC thing so I can literally watch it right after
Watch it
this.
whenever you want,
Yes,
right?
I can
Yeah.
watch it whenever I
Yeah.
want because I am so obsessed with the Olympics. I love the Olympics. It's
I
like
am glad
my
you are
happy
getting
place.
enjoyment from it.
I am. It's just one of the few times, and I was just kind of trying to write a little blog post about it. Of course, I haven't finished it about how patriotic I feel and how averse to that word I've felt for like these
It's
last several
become
years. It's
very
very like,
it's become very
oh,
toxic. It's become difficult. I get nervous, which is not to say I'm like, oh my God, but like it is. I nervous isn't the wrong word. I get a little suspicious when I see people flying American flags off of their house.
yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
I don't
And
want to be that way. Yeah.
that shouldn't be the case. But
Yeah.
it feels like, the pejorative phrase of virtue signaling, and it feels exactly like that. It feels my late father-in-law, who was an Air Force veteran and took the flag itself very seriously, was just furious. I remember back in particular in 2015, 2016, around that election, all the talk about honoring the flag and loving the flag. And there were things you don't do to the flag, right? And it drives him nuts. One of those things is you don't wear it, right? Like there's a difference between putting the patch and having a button-up shirt done as the flag, right?
Right, right.
That's
And
not
Olympians
or
are allowed
shorts.
to put it around their shoulders and run around the track. That's
Exactly,
different because they're
because that
representing our country.
exactly. And
Yes.
but the idea of, here's Jonathan, Smith, and he's running around with his boxer short American flag.
Right,
It's
right.
like that's not use. That is not how the flag is supposed to be treated. He would get very angry about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a perfect example of somebody who so absolutely loves or loved the United States, was proud of his service, became more and more liberal the older he got, right? Like
Hmm.
went the opposite of the
Interesting.
predicted direction. Like
Yeah.
did not become conservative, but was more and more politically active, became more and more liberal, was constantly but yeah, and he hated the way, in particular, the flag had been co-opted
Yes.
by the far right.
Yes, yes.
Um,
It makes me really angry as well because my dad, as an immigrant, like fought to be here, like literally for his life to be here,
literally fought
and
to get here.
literally
Yeah.
fought to get here. And whenever we would go to China or we go to international events, he always made sure. I mean, our regular uniform is Walam Kung Fu of USA. In
Hmm.
particular, he points out he wants us to wear of USA. And when we go to other countries, especially, but our regular Kung Fu uniform at the temple in Orlando is of USA because he's so proud of
Hmm.
he's very nationalist that way of like I'm American. I chose to be American.
You are here because of what this country gave him and what he
Yeah, and
or
stood for.
what yeah, and what he was able to achieve.
Of
And
course.
yeah, so I get. like I said, I get it is problematic. And then frankly, I have this problem with some of the coverage we see too, because some of the coverage gets crazy jingoistic. And I'm like, it's okay for other countries to be successful too, right? You understand that, right? It's a,
Yes.
you know, um, so I
Yeah.
have a weird relationship with the Olympics. And when the kids were small, they were both into gymnastics for several years.
Ah,
And
okay, good.
so watching Olympic gymnastics, I find I have an easier time with Summer Olympics than Winter. Winter Olympics, I can't watch.
Oh, interesting.
There's too much. There, this is going to sound. I have a very squishy, soft interior. My anxiety level during the Winter Olympics goes through the roof because of all the ways people can die and
Ah,
horribly
yes.
hurt themselves.
Okay.
And it's not like they're significantly less, right? People can die in a swimming pool, right? I
Yes.
mean, we
Or
know
in the
this.
river thing
Exactly.
or
And,
definitely in gymnastics. It's so
exactly.
dangerous. Yeah.
Exactly. But ice skating,
Hmm. And the
like
skiing where they jump and then they
and the
flip
ski
and who knows where they're
and
landing.
the toboggan runs
Yeah.
and the bobsled runs and so I just everything I'm seeing is just like yeah, I know enough to know all the ways they're gonna get really hurt.
Oh my gosh.
Um
Yeah, that reminds us of how we run our Kung Fu team meetings. We're like, okay, guys, we're going in for the 5-year-old class. Anything that can possibly go wrong will go wrong. If there's a ladder on the wall, imagine it
it will fall
falling and
over.
hitting on
Yeah.
someone or crushing a child. Like, we need to be prepared. We need to have like a heightened level of anxiety in a sense of safety. But I get what you're saying in terms of like that watching, because we've been watching, of course, gymnastics and just seeing the guys on the pommel horse and their hands just the wrong way, and some of them have taken a fall. Your heart is in your throat, and it's so stressful. It's super stressful. But I am super emotional about the Olympics, and I absolutely like love it. And again, I feel very positive. I'm embracing the positivity of feeling patriotic, being unified behind our athletes, and
I'm
knowing like this
wondering.
is our country and our team. But
See, I don't think you're alone in this right now, and I think I find it interesting, and maybe it's because on some level it's a thing we can feel patriotic about and supportive about that isn't inherently toxic. It
mhm.
isn't problematic. Though then you read about like, triathlete going, I've been exposing myself to E. coli a little bit every day to build up my resistance. It's like, doesn't work like that, dumb ass.
Oh no.
Like
I didn't
literally
see
wash
that.
your fucking hands,
Oh boy.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Like
I
maybe
mean,
don't allow them to speak in public for others to hear.
do you want to be in the Olympic Village with this guy? He's
Yeah, I
not
know.
washing his hands. It's like if there's one point in your life as an Olympic athlete where you do not want a cold, a sniffle, food poison,
Yes.
anything, it's going to be when you have arrived in the Olympic Village
Yeah.
for the Olympics you have been training for every day for the better part of your life.
Yes.
And there's this guy going, no, I don't wipe after, I don't wash after I wipe. It's like, dude, number one, I don't need to know it. And number two, stay over there.
Yeah, exactly. Can we put like the Monsters Inc. thing where they come and
Exactly.
they
It's like put him
and
in.
they,
I mean,
yeah,
oh my God.
isolation.
The the
Yeah.
the staggering yet another success of the anti-science. We don't need
Hmm.
vaccines. No, 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 no. No, you need them. You need them.
Yeah.
Trust me. You need them. You need them.
I know I was actually so stressed for our athletes because again, that opening ceremonies, I'm rushing home after class to watch it. And I didn't have the NBC app. I wasn't prepared. At the time, I was like, oh, I was all
I
mad. And
wasn't
then
ready yet.
yeah, I wasn't ready yet. I was like, oh, but then luckily I got home in time and to see the boats coming through. And I get so emotional because they're chanting USA, USA.
Uh-huh.
And you get on board with that and you forget about all the bullshit that's happening with the politics. And if you were hearing USA chanting at any rally or anything here in the States right now for elections, it gives you this adverse feeling, which is horrible
Yeah.
because on the reverse side, we're watching the Olympics and then they're all in the rain. And I'm like, oh gosh, I hope nobody gets sick from being in the rain,
Nobody
just
gets
being
a cold.
drenched and nobody gets a cold. Well, because like you said, they've worked their whole
Oh yeah,
lives.
no, it would
I
the
just
worst.
can't even imagine. It's the
It
worst
would
thing to
suck
be sick the day you
so
get there.
bad. Yeah, it would suck so bad to be like, yeah, you're not a, you 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 ate the wrong thing, something. But
Yes.
most of them got there like a couple weeks ago, I think. Like
Yes.
part of
Yes.
the idea is to really acclimate.
Yeah. And
Um,
some of them have been performing and competing sick or injured.
mhm.
And I just go, wow, they're like superhumans. To me, I'm over the
Okay, but
whole superhero thing. I'm like so about it.
how many times have you gone out and had to do an exhibition or a demonstration or
Okay,
I mean,
okay, you're calling me out, and this is true, but I just still feel like their level is like superhero level of activity and
okay.
resilience and dedication. Like I get it. I
I'm
have
gonna,
competed at an international
you know
level.
what, Mimi? We don't talk about this nearly enough, right?
Uh-oh.
Because when you and I have these conversations, my ego immediately expands to fill the room. Um,
Not true.
you're a Sifu. That's an honorific, yes. It's an earned title that not many people ever achieve in a very specific art that requires an extraordinary mental and physical discipline. And I know you do other interviews and you talk about, how martial arts are portrayed in media and you delve into the culture, but you do a very good job and you always have done a very good job of sort of disappearing yourself from our conversations in that sense. It is important to remember, like you are a master, literally a master in what you do. There's a level to that achievement. Maybe it's not on the same level of winning a gold at the Summer Olympics in Paris, but I'd argue is pretty close
Oh, thank you.
in more than a few places. So,
I appreciate that.
your humility does you credit, but it is. I think a lot of people don't think about the Sifu Mimi Chan show and think about what the Sifu part means.
Right.
I think they don't understand what that means.
Mm.
Uh, and what that means is a lifetime of hard work and discipline. Um,
Thank you for
and a
that.
level of mastery that allows you to pass it along.
Right, right. Yeah,
So
you're so you you see me. It's so nice.
just hey, you
I
and
mean, as a
Oscar having
non-martial artist, in terms of like, training and everything, I know you do a lot of combat art and things, but like to
not for
understand so
years.
much at a but you've trained, but to understand so much about our culture and what it entails, just because of our conversations and your relationships and is very, 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 very heartwarming. So thank you for
Well,
that.
share it with Oscar, but I mean,
Oh, he
if nothing
listens.
else,
By the way, last episode,
mad
loved
respect,
it.
right? So there
Thank
you
you.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "Ooh, you guys are so back." When he listened to our last episode, which just dropped, by the way, which just dropped, because I was like, "VAs, push
Yeah.
everyone aside because who knows how evergreen this is going to be." Is the news changes like in 5 seconds. So I'm
Yeah,
like, we just talked about
man,
the
it's been a great week though. I've watched some sainted gentleman had the courtesy of putting together a super cut
ooh
within an hour of Hissy Fitler uh yesterday.
of the
And
interview.
the super cut was 20 minutes long, and I think he was there for 40 minutes, right? So like
Oh.
every other thing out of his mouth was like, I'm just gonna set fire to myself. He's also starting, I really love this. He's also starting to look worse and worse. Like all of this sudden, I don't know if you've noticed this, a lot of the pictures coming up in the media aren't the flattering. He's starting to look like, oh, they've caught him with the thinning hairpiece and so on,
Ah,
sort of
okay.
effect.
Yes. I don't
I,
see
I, I,
anything really, like very
I'm not
little.
saying
So I
this is
haven't been
all.
keeping up. Yeah.
This is all apocryphal, like or anecdotal, I should say, not
Right.
apocryphal. It is my experience, and I'm not chasing it
You're
down
observing
in the
though. You're
media.
observing. Yes.
But
Observing.
yeah, he's it ain't over, and
Yes, yes. We have a
the
long way to
dirty
go. We got a long way to go.
the
But
dirty
Oscar did
tricks
read me.
bag, the dirty
Hmm.
tricks bag is deep.
Oh, it's
Um,
deep.
and and Russia is panicking right now and is going to go full bore on this
That's right.
because they have a real vested interest in there's a particular there's an interesting intersection, and this is just me gaming it out, right? You know, all
Hmm.
of the things about Harris aside, Harris comes from this prosecutorial background.
Right, right.
And one of the reasons that, and maybe one of the most powerful reasons, in my opinion, that we've been dealing with for so long, is that Putin is that like that's a crime nation. It's a kleptocracy, right? So the investment in other right-wing authoritarian regimes is a legitimization of Putin in Russia. This is why he's supportive of Orban and so on. And this is one of the reasons why they love Trump. And they've got Trump. Trump is goes back, and there's documentation. You can see this goes back 20, 30 years in bed with the Russian mob. So one of the it's not there are all sorts of benefits to having him president, and they reaped them once already. One of the real threats, I would argue, in having a former prosecutor as the commander in chief, is amidst everything that the job entails and that should she win, have to deal with, she's going to have an eye on that seriously. There is like the intersection of all these things right now is extraordinary. What was I? So I listened to as everybody knows, and here you can see it, right? Love football, hate racism. I'm a big soccer
Yeah, you
fan.
you got all the good shirts lately.
Yeah. Um, I listened to a podcast that the Guardian does called Guardian Football Weekly.
Okay.
And if you are a soccer fan or a footy fan, it's worth listening to. And they do, regular podcasts about like this is what's going on in the game and this person and this team and so on. But every so often they'll do specials about, racism in football, homophobia in football, money, right? Like these sorts of things, gambling. And I was listening to the latest episode yesterday, and one of the contributors, a regular contributor to the pod, is a journalist and a musician named Philippe Auclair, who's been doing a lot of reportage on organized gambling and how these effectively fly by night looking gambling firms, most of them Asian facing, are buying like enormous sponsorships on Premier League teams. They end up with like 90 minutes of free advertising or whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the extrapolation of like that's so gambling, right? The further down that tree you go, you get into the organized crime nature of it, the money laundering of it, the human slavery, the human trafficking that's responsible. And the fact that these are organizations that exist with basically IT, like these are business park ventures, right? These
Okay.
are office building ventures. They are fully staffed. And now this intersects pretty seamlessly with modern and still growing infosec computer crime, and in particular, ransomware and organized crime, which is a huge multi-billion dollar industry,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And these ransomware cartels, gangs, now have brand recognition, now do target research, right? So that, and this again comes to like, and this is touching everybody's lives in ways we don't realize it. Like this
Yeah.
is that this was sort of the everything intersected for me yesterday. I'm talking to Jen. Dashiell is home before she goes back to college. She's going to go back to college in about 3, 4 weeks. She wanted to get in to see a dentist. She is no longer seeing her pediatric dentist, right? She now has an adult dentist.
Yeah.
So we have to contact a pediatric dentist to have the records transferred because we've got this
Right.
appointment made. Jen makes that call and she is told, well, Dash is going to need an all-around scan, like the full
Oh,
360
right. Yeah.
X-ray,
For the X-ray.
because we can't access the last one she had because that data is stored with a company we use along with several other doctors' offices storing this medical data. That company was hit by a ransomware attack. We don't have it anymore,
Oh, gosh.
right?
Yeah.
So, and God bless them, they were like, so she should come in and we'll do another set for free,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? But the point being, that's how this is now. This is not, this isn't going after British Petroleum. This isn't going after Microsoft or Fannie Mae or CloudStrike or whoever. This is going after JNS Medical Research Data Storage, right?
Hmm.
And I'm making up the name, but that's a targeted attack.
Yeah.
And these targeted attacks are happening globally all of the time, right? So that and and the end result of that, right, is a lot of that, and this goes to a news story today. A lot of that is out of the CIS and Russia. And then today we see that the prisoner swap that has been arranged,
Okay.
uh, is releasing a convicted murderer back to Russia, who is also a major hacker,
Ah,
right?
right.
So all of this to say, um, all of this to say, be very, very careful of the news you see dropping, especially come October,
Yeah.
because there's gonna be a full court press on an October surprise, and I don't know what that'll be. I don't know what it'll look like. Um, we are, and this is one of the other problems, and I think you actually see it in how the Harris campaign is immediately countering and going after the Hissy Fitler front, right?
Hmm.
Because I mean they're using memes, right?
Right.
They,
Right.
they
Right.
they use that famous community meme I saw today, of walking in and everything with the pizzas and everything's on fire. And it's like JD Vance couches, and all the like they had everything labeled, right? But that's the level they're playing on.
Mm.
And one of the things that I think has been so exciting for people is that this campaign isn't being run by a bunch of old white guys.
Right. 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 So a
It's
little bit of a fresh take.
well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm 54. So when I think something is fresh, it most definitely isn't. right? If
But the
I
Gen
think it's new,
Zers and the March for
right.
Our Lives kids, they're all on board. So that
Exactly.
means
If
something's
you're
going
20,
well.
exactly. If you're 25 and you look at that and you're like, they got a finger on the pulse, I'm more inclined to believe that they know what they're talking about,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I'm a bad week away from going, I can't make my Apple TV go anymore, you know? So
Oh my
a
gosh.
huge digression there, all of which to say, I
There's going to be
think that,
interference and a
well,
lot
I
of
mean, we
it.
knew that,
We knew that, right?
and we have been told publicly, repeatedly by Republicans, we won't accept the results of this election if our guy doesn't win.
Right.
In which case, it's not an election,
I know.
right? What you're saying is we expect a coronation, and if we don't get the coronation, we won't acknowledge it. Now, that's for some of them, that's just talk, right? For
Hmm.
some of them, that's just going, these are our talking points, and we got to stay in
Yeah, in
Hissy Fitler's good
alignment.
graces.
Yes, we need
Yeah,
to show our
because
our
we know what a
loyalty.
vindictive prick he is,
Yes.
right? So, but certainly they've got, certainly there are, Rachel Maddow had a thing a couple days ago about, look, these are all the ways they can steal the election, right?
Mhm.
We're going to have to be really on the ball for that. And one of the things that it's going to fall to us as citizens, should something like that develop, one of the things that falls to us to respond to is saying, no, we will not. You cannot. You do not get to. You cannot take that.
Yeah.
Um, and for the first time in a really long time, I am seeing the energy for people, like people are rolling up their sleeves. They'll fight it. They're making it clear they will. They are saying it.
Right. Instead of the silent voters, it's just like, no, I'm
Exactly.
still conservative, but maybe they'll vote
Yeah.
in good conscience. Like we're actually getting people coming out, those undecideds and independents
Yeah.
are
So
choosing a
it's
side. Yeah.
it's going to be really interesting over the next couple weeks, but it is nice to not wake up every morning loathing what I'm going to see in the news. I got to tell you, it's such an extraordinary feeling. I was talking to Alejandro Arbona, and I don't think he'll mind me mentioning this.
Okay.
Uh, Alejandro and I talk every Monday, right? Because that's our state of the publications call. It's like,
Hmm.
what needs to happen? Where are we? What do I need this week?
Yeah.
And Alejandro basically saying, where's the script for? That's what those calls
Hmm.
are. You need to be writing this. Right? We were talking about the fact that, New York had this horrible heat wave and really high humidity. And Alejandro was saying, like, he had gotten to the point where that and the news, and he was like, maybe I'm clinically depressed. Maybe I need to see somebody. It's like, and then Biden drops out, endorses Harris, and the weather broke. And he said, no, no. All of a sudden, he was like, oh no, it wasn't, it was. And
I
then he
feel
was like,
great.
yeah, he really was. He was like, oh no, it's not. It was the world. It was literally the world doing this to me.
And he is
And
not
also,
alone.
yeah, I see it all around. And right there, like, how do you fight? Like, if you're the Trump campaign, how do you fight that? How do you fight? Oh, that's relief.
Hmm.
Like the thing that has them moving and laughing and smiling is relief. Like, and it's a deep-seated relief.
Hmm.
It's not, it is the realization, I think, on one level that is, oh no, what you represent, and Weird did this. One Word did this. What you guys are representing, what you guys are promoting, is so disliked and so out of step and so not normal. And almost everybody, I would argue, in the world wants normal.
Yes.
We want to be able to get up in the morning and know, I, I know what I'm doing today. I know where the paycheck is coming from. I know where the meal is coming from. I know my mom and dad are going to be okay, or my kids are okay, or just my friends are like, I want to be able to say on Sunday, I am going to go to the park and have a picnic, right? And that not be an extraordinary gamble,
Right.
right? That it not be called into question. I can expect that in 4 days, I can make sandwiches, put them in a basket with a couple of Diet Cokes, and go hang out in the park for 2 hours with my family.
Mhm.
And that had been so absolutely eroded. Just to have the promise of its return is galvanizing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
Yeah, I really like the term relief because I don't like to use the word hope because I always feel like I'm just going to get crushed if I'm hopeful. But relief is good because it's okay to have a moment of relief and then proceed from there. But yeah, I always tell people because they've been sharing the news or here, Oscar will read the Axios thing was like, hey, he totally put his foot in his mouth 1,000 times at
yeah,
this journalist thing
it was
yesterday. And I was like, really? He goes,
unbelievable.
yeah. And then, of course, I look at like two things and it's like exploding all over all over the
Because
page. I'm
people
like,
had to pull
okay.
him out.
Yeah, yeah.
They
It
had to
became like
pull
the
him
Gong
out.
Show. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
we've got to end this. It's becoming like rampant. I mean, which is great. I'm like, no, let him keep
Yeah, no,
going. Just
no, keep going.
let him
Yep.
keep going.
Yep.
And I'm just like, can't the rest of the Americans see what we're seeing? Like, how is it not apparent? But at least I feel like the undecideds and the ones that we are going to be able to resonate with are seeing things like this and will, like you said, choose a side, like out loud, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just kind of being silent, because that energy is necessary. But relief
And
is good. I
and
like
people can
this.
start talking again. Like
Right.
there was, I think we had reached a point where nobody wanted to say anything aloud.
Hmm.
You know, it's just like we were
Well, I
only
mean, you
willing
you were you were pretty good about saying things loud.
to you.
I know.
See, it's
To
easy to
me and all the listeners.
okay, but see, and to my detriment, I imagine. Um, Part of the reason this works is because it's just you and me talking. I
Right,
don't.
right. Like at the in Rose City, you're
I
like, oh boy, there's gonna be people there.
yeah, and I don't have that. No, as far as nobody else is listening to this. What are you talking about? Don't be silly, Mimi.
Yeah, says Greg with the line that was never ending every time I went by your table in Portland. I was like, oh yeah, he's still busy. Okay, he's still busy.
Stop, stop,
I have photos and video to prove it.
stop. Yeah, it's also, oh, it's the first show he's done in 4 years in this country. So
It
come
was
on.
exciting. And then
Yeah,
your
the great
panels were
thing
all
is
full.
if you don't do shows for a really long time, you're
They'd be like,
really
oh.
popular when you do, or you've been entirely forgotten. It's one or the other.
Okay,
Right. So
well, you were not forgotten, that's for sure.
and I'm grateful. I'm very
Yeah.
glad.
Yes.
So
Everybody was very happy to see you. And I have to say the live audience recording was just kind of fun because as a stage performer primarily, right, most of my
uh-huh.
things now are you get this immediate response and then often with podcasts maybe you get a comment, maybe or like you said at the
Uh-huh.
last con someone was like, hey, when are you guys gonna podcast again, or you even get requests. But when you have the live audience, and it was so much fun that we just jumped in and they were all in on all the jokes and the inside jokes because they were clearly listeners. I'm so
Well, and
grateful
it's
to
and a
everyone that came out because
conversation and it gets
it
to be a
was fun.
conversation. So yeah, no,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
a
so much
hoot.
fun. It was so much fun,
I
so that
I
was nice. It was nice
I
because I felt like everyone there was in the know with us and had been with us on this
yeah.
journey, which is
Well,
really,
and
really a unique thing.
you that's it's one of the things I like about doing panels, right? Is that
Hmm.
it's community. You're
Yeah.
talking to people. There was this thing that happened at Heroes Con where the program had been misprinted and I hadn't realized it. And so I thought at Saturday at like 1 o'clock I was supposed to be on this panel.
Oh, okay.
And so I went up to this panel room and there was nobody there, but there was like, 2 dozen people sitting there. So I go up on the stage and I'm sitting and I'm waiting. And I'm looking at my watch. I'm sitting at my weight, and then I'm like, just to be clear, everybody's here for this panel. Oh, yeah, yeah. Huh. All right. Well, I guess we'll talk, right? So for an hour, I'm just like, and we're talking to this room. And then, of course, about 40 minutes in, somebody says, "Oh, yeah, no, it's tomorrow. The panel's tomorrow." And I was like, at which point it's like, well, we're 40 minutes in on the hour, so let's just finish it and I'll get
Yeah.
back to my table.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, that's hilarious.
it was really funny, but it was also, in a way, really sweet
Yeah,
because,
because people were there even though they weren't supposed to be there also.
right. And while they didn't get the panel they wanted,
Uh-huh.
the flip side, I guess, of that was, well, there were people who got to ask me whatever the hell they wanted.
Yeah.
Some of it about the topic of the panel, some not.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm sure they all knew who you were anyway, though. They were like, "Oh, bonus panel. Okay, we
I'm
didn't
not
know they
sure
were going
they
to have
all
a
did.
pre-panel, but okay."
Yeah, I'm not sure they all did, but I think they were all entertained.
Yeah, well, you are very, very entertaining,
I
especially
I I,
live.
I strive to be.
You,
I strive to
you,
give good entertainment.
you definitely know how to work the crowd, so everyone's always excited. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Yeah, I think that every day I wake up, because I've been no news for since December, and like occasionally I'll, like I said, people will text me or give me
Yeah.
an update, or Oscar gets his one newsletter and says, "Here's the three big things." And I don't get that feeling in the same way, because my therapist was like, "So how are we doing? The election's underway. Is this going to be a week?" I said, "Honestly, since I'm not taking in all of the noise, it's been easier, but I'm not gonna lie that there's this little thing in the back always kind of there, like, oh,
Mm.
this could happen."
Oh
And
yeah.
especially because in my neighborhood, I'll drive by that freaking house with the flag
Yeah.
waving around in their yard, and it just there's little reminders like that to pull you
Oh
out
yeah.
of it. But
Everywhere. And look, I mean, yeah. And even if Harris wins, even if Harris wins, it's not over. It's yet another Band-Aid. There's a deep, deep rot, and it's got to get cut out. And there are things that can be done that will cut it out, but it's going to require a lot of political capital and a lot of political will. And if you read Project 2025, which they are now desperately trying to distance themselves from and should under no account be allowed to, because just because they're saying, oh, we're done, we're not doing that. Sure, I believe you. You've never told us lies before, right? You're entirely trustworthy. And so is that it is, if you read it, it is a literal document for fascism. And it's not a sophisticated one. It is a blunt force trauma attack on everything. Like Small Business Association, being disbanded after giving all of its money to churches, approved churches, right? Um, it is literally it is like this combined Christo-fascist entitled capitalist document that effectively strips all agency, defense, protection from people who are not billionaires, and conduits them to unassailable wealth, and imposes a religious fascism that makes Handmaid's Tale look like a Calvin and Hobbes strip.
oh God.
I mean, it is ghastly, and a lot of it talks about like it's a first 100 days document. It's literally designed to be these things are done, but they're unassailable. Like with this is a 100-day document.
Right.
Um, it
Ugh.
it's and of course they're running from it. Of course they're running from it, but that doesn't mean they don't believe it.
Right,
And
right.
it doesn't mean they don't want it, right?
Because he was
And
asked about that yesterday, right?
well, no, they
Oh, they didn't
tried to.
get to
That's
it.
when he got pulled. That was the
Ah,
last
okay, that's
question,
what
and
happened.
yeah, like
Okay,
they never got to it.
okay.
Um, but it's going to stick to him in that campaign, like like use toilet paper and from the men's room floor. They're never getting rid of that all the way to the election. You can't,
Hmm.
and you can. And even with the Wall Street Journal saying it's now a non-issue, it's like you don't get to decide that, Wall Street Journal. You don't get to say that's over. And Harris doesn't really need to bring it up either, because there are lots of people who are going to do it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I Fraction had been reading through it. If you follow him on Blue Sky, he was throwing up like bits. And one of the things he was saying is, he's like, it's not even sophisticated. He's like, I'm not a policy wonk. I understand everything they're saying. It's very clear, you know, all the people involved in this, many of whom were part of the first Trump administration and worked on this document. It's like they all got a section to get what they wanted. And that's get rid of the natural national parks. That's be able to pollute these waterways, literally, literally remove child safety standards in certain jobs. Like, no, 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 sure, 14-year-olds can work in this environment, 15-year-olds can work in this environment, 12-year-olds can work in this environment, right? I mean, it just goes on and on. You look at it and you're like
Mm.
we talk about
Hmm.
Lazarus,
Yeah.
like this thing
Thanks,
is
Greg.
It's no, it's literally like the most unimaginative dystopian future
uh,
document you can picture. It was like, I mean, it really was like, there's a piece of it that, and this is the thing that kind of boggles my mind with the whole Opus Dei thing. These people who actually believe this is God's will, that we are headed
oh
to,
gosh.
that they're running us to an end time. They want everybody, they're going to heaven
Hmm.
and the hell with everybody else who doesn't come with them. Literally,
Yeah,
the hell with
yeah.
them. But it's the most unimaginative document in the world. It's like that. It is. This is just. I've only read like 50 pages, 60 pages, and it's like it's not that it's dumb. It's that it's. I mean, it's just. It's the lack of self-awareness of the mustache twirling evil of
Right.
this
It's like the
document is
antithesis of America, actually,
I
and
mean,
what
it's
it should all stand for.
staggering.
Yes.
It's literally like they're all was it Dr. Evil from Austin Powers
Yeah.
going,
Yeah. And they're in
I
a
mean, it's
lair
like
and they're like,
I
now your turn to write a paragraph.
yeah, it's like I mean
You and they're trying to up each other in how horrible it can be. And
I mean it
wow.
is kind of staggering. You just like and so what are you left with, right? On I'm not willing to say everybody involved in the document believes is motivated by this apocalyptic view of the world. Right? Not everybody involved is looking to usher in Armageddon.
Well,
Some
that's
people are
good.
some people are there just entirely cynically going, this is about me, right? Musk, we know, can, wave a flag going, I'm a good Christian. He doesn't care. He doesn't go to church. That's not what he's about. That's not what he's about at all. All he's about is his power, his privilege, and getting more of both.
Hmm.
That's all that he's concerned with. So, you know what? If he can do that, well, these people are off, worrying about whether or not they're going to get through the pearly gates as soon as they light the fuse. Let them.
Yeah.
He's not planning on that being a problem for him, right?
Hmm.
He'll have enough money, it won't matter.
Yeah.
So there's absolute, and that's the other thing in this document, right? It's like half of it is this rabid Christofascism, and the other half of it is this cynical, end stage capitalism.
Whew.
And talk about an unholy marriage. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yikes.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely not going to have that for my, before bed reading.
No, no, no.
It's not on my list.
No, no, no. You don't
I'm
need
just
it.
going to keep watching the Olympics.
Yes. Clean the palate, clean the soul.
Yes, exactly. I'm just gonna keep watching the Olympics. But I do, it's weird. I don't want to take in media, but I do still need to be informed, know what's going
Yeah, of
on.
course.
But it's not like people aren't dying to tell me. So I'm always gonna be getting kind of the updates. And then thanks to the Discord, I get to learn about the couch and JD Vance. So I had no idea. And so I read Oscar on the way home from our class, this article that they posted, and we were just dying because we have no idea what this is about until like we're going through this article, and
Yeah.
he's like, what is happening right now? Like, these are our presidential nominees or whatever. Like, this is
It's
insane
it's
that
it's the
this
John Rogers quote. It's the John Rogers quote, which is, the memes stick because there's an element of truth in them. You looked at the
yeah.
ones about Bush and you're like, yeah, he looks dumb. So memes about him being dumb, he looks dumb. And the memes about Clinton being sort of slick and always on the make, yeah, he looks
hmm
slick and on the make. And
hmm
you look at Vance and you go, yeah, memes about this guy having sex with a couch, absolutely plausible. He looks like a guy who has sex with a couch.
oh
And
my gosh.
I know it's just, you're like,
Crazy.
it's like whoever the soul was that came up with this and did the work, to find the page citation.
Right.
Um, they were tapped in on something because there's no way they knew it was going to take off like it did.
Right,
But
right. It's
on some level,
crazy.
they looked at Vance and somebody they were with said, that guy's a couch fucker."
Right, exactly.
And they said he's a what? And whoever they were with explained what they meant.
Right.
And that guy said, "Hey, you know what? That's funny." And there you
Yes, and
go.
then it's out there. That's
Yeah.
it. It's out there, you
And it's
know.
never not going to be.
I mean, and it's just nice for them to have a little bit of a taste of their own medicine because it's so constant with the lies.
They
And
lost their mind over weird. Over
I
weird.
know, I heard about
I
of
mean,
all the things they've been called, and weird is the
weird,
problematic one.
but of course it makes perfect sense, right? Because what they have always assailed, right, is what they want as normal. So if you
hmm
call what you want as normal, i.e., checking somebody's genitals before they go into a restroom, that's weird.
hmm
Okay, that's weird. You guys are being weird, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah,
They
they didn't
just
know how to
they
do
lost their minds. They fucking lost their minds, and
Yes.
now we can move on. Except they can't. They're going to be like they think we're weird. They
Yeah.
think we're weird. It's like yes, because you
Because you
are.
are.
You are weird.
Yes.
Normal people don't do these things. Normal people don't like it is not normal for me to be this concerned about your sex life.
Yes.
That's not normal.
Not
That's
normal.
weird. And frankly, creepy.
Very
And
creepy.
and weird plus creepy equals I believe he fucked a couch.
Like
So, I mean, you see how he got there. You look at that and you're like, one plus, yeah, no, it checks out.
I just think it's funny though, like you said, they got mad about weird, but they've been called racist and rapists and all these
Yeah,
other words, all these other
things that
accusations and things that
no
are also
problem with
very
that.
true, but they're like, yeah, well,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
embrace those things.
exactly. Right,
But
because we're
weird, how
speaking to,
dare you?
yeah, no,
We
no,
represent America.
you're not normal. Yeah,
Right.
and you
I think it's
therefore do
great we found
not.
their weakness.
We certainly found a soft
We-
underbelly.
right. I was like, well, okay then. I know. And yeah, I just think it's great. I think they just need to let him keep talking and let him keep just spinning out all of the things and, calling Kamala not black, Indian, not Indian, I was like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of perfect timing for us here in Florida. Like I'm actually having a Blasian book fair in September, which are Black, Asian, and Blasian authors, because we're
Uh-huh.
giving out free books because as you know, there's a lot of
Perfect.
banned books in Florida.
Invite Harris.
Yes, I'm going to. And I was like, wow, that's really weird because now they're like all over the Blasian term and stuff because
Yeah.
people don't recognize or
Yeah.
realize. I'm like, yes, mixed race is a
Definitely
thing and it's
reach out.
fine. And
Definitely reach out to the campaign locally.
yeah, I thought
Um,
that was so crazy though. I was like, wow, we've been advertising our Blasian book fair in September
and all of
for,
a sudden,
and all of a sudden now, like, this
be
is a big
prepared. Be
talking point.
Also be prepared now for people to show up to protest it.
Right. Well, then, you really made it when you have
Yeah. Yeah.
protesters.
No, the second they tell you how much they hate you, you know you've done something right. So,
Yeah, and I actually all of my public events that I've had with the, Make Us Visible and the advocacy, I've been really concerned. And fortunately, they've all been okay, but
hmm
they've all been at the Kung Fu school, and this one is not.
hmm
And so I feel like there's a little thing about the Kung Fu school that does, like, we are in a natural environment that kind of keeps people out, and it's a little um not standoffish, but we're a compound. We're kind
Yeah, no,
of we're kind of a kung fu
and not
temple. So
and
it's
not
like, okay,
and not
guys.
only that, for most people they go, oh, it's kung fu. They're gonna have swords
Yeah, well,
and they
this
know how
is
to
this is
use
also
them.
Florida, open carry state and all. So,
Yeah, okay, well,
well, but
fair
I've
enough.
always had really high security and like just making sure all my, things are balanced. But this is not going to be at the temple. This is going to be in the west side because we wanted it really accessible
Yeah, yeah,
to all the neighborhoods, especially our Black neighborhoods here, because we wanted these books and we wanted
yeah,
like
yeah,
author outreach and stuff. So this is going to be interesting because now we're really hitting on something very very prescient of the time. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yes,
yeah.
we are having a Blasian book fair, everyone. So please come and get free books from
Yes.
a lot of banned authors.
Oh
That's
man.
that's the goal. But yeah, good times as always with
Well,
Greg Rucka.
I mean, we'll be talking prior, and then I expect to hear how it goes after.
Of
So
course. Oh yes, yes. I'll definitely let you know. It should be interesting, and I will reach out to the Harris campaign and see if they can send us
you
a
really
message.
should. You
Yes,
really
yes.
should. If nothing else,
I mean, I did
you're
tag them
gonna
on
get
my
a
post
campaign
today.
table. So,
Yeah.
somebody will be there to hand out pins, and stickers.
So,
All
in
right.
any case, well, as always, it's a pleasure. I'm gonna
It's
go check on
always
my
great
women's
talking to you.
gymnastics now.
Yeah, okay, yeah, go watch.
I'm just
I,
kidding.
I thank you for letting me take you from it. And
I always
love to
love
you,
talking to
love to
you.
Oscar, love to the
Likewise,
family.
love to
And
everybody.
we'll talk again soon.
We'll talk soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to The Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Please subscribe and rate my podcast on your platform of choice and leave a review. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram or Facebook.